Buffalo, nestled in the heartland of the Ozarks. We'd like to welcome to the stage a wonderful storyteller from the Ozark Folk Center, Mary Gillihan.
Well, I'm certainly glad to be in Jasper. I was here a few years back because I live kind of far from here over in Stone County, outside of Mountain View, Arkansas. But I live this part of the country as I know you do, and I love the Ozarks. I learned a song all about the generation of Martains, they were called, but now are called Martins, who came at least 5 generations ago and settled in the Buffalo River country. I'm very proud to be a part of what's called the Arkansas Stories, which is story songs about the history of our state. The big songs like the flood, and the small songs like Henri Martin's family. So anyway, I thought I would do that, and I brought the historical information, because if you was talking about my family, you better not get it wrong. The story comes from a man by the name of Norman Fultz, was his mama's name, Martin now, instead of Martin when they came from France. And he wrote a really nice little piece of work called Love Along the Way. And he was a part of that big family movement that came. He was a part French descent and part Cherokee descent. So I'd like to play his story for you. Henri Martin made his way across the ocean from Georgia's North Country, and it's there that he stayed. His guitar was a gift from a Cherokee chieftain. His heart was a gift to a Cherokee maid. All he had been, he would cast to the wind. All she might be, she placed in his hand. Enough for them both just to live in some valley, lost by a stream in a green mountain land. Gonna switch here. Last time I did this song I had a really bad cold, now I don't have nearly as bad of a cold. But some fool found a few flecks of gold in that country. Treaties and laws were all put to the test. Then lo and behold, the Cherokee's homeland suddenly lay far away from the west. Jack Evans was one of the soldiers who came to march them along to an uncertain life. But there in the mountains he lost his young heart to the daughter of Henri Martin and his wife. Across the big muddy through white river bottoms, he kept them in blankets and food as he could. He spoke of a place that he knew in the Ozarks. Would they follow him there? Henri pledged that they would. Where the Arkansas River points north to the hills, Jack said to Henri, tonight we'll break free. So gather your wife and your children and follow. Your fair oldest daughter may ride next to me. Now 3 days away they stood on Cave Mountain, where the Buffalo River runs down through a glade. Jack, like Henri, made his home in the mountains and had given his heart to that Cherokee maid. All he might be, he would cast to the wind. All she might be, she placed in his hand. Enough for them both just to live in some valley, lost by a stream in a green mountain land. Yes, lost by a stream in this green mountain land. Thank you very much. If you're not familiar with that instrument, a lot of folks who live in rural Arkansas, women use music in their lives, and of course I chose women because, as they say, I are one. But I also chose it because I happen to know personally 2 of the 3 women. I'd like to tell you their stories. The first one, I actually just heard. My friends from Queen Wilhelmina State Park sent me some actual by-gum field recordings of 3 songs of Emma Dusenberry, because Mr. Lomax recorded her later on in her life. And she did start out living in Batesville, Arkansas, which is just 38 miles away from my hometown. Anyhow, they moved on down to Mina. Her father worked the timber and different things around there. And she married up and they had themselves a girl. But then her husband passed on and she was left there to raise that single daughter by herself. Now, way back out in the sticks, Mr. Lomax wrote, is where he found her. Now. They didn't find her right off. There he went down to Mina, Arkansas, and it was just a small community at that time, and he started asking around about Emma Dusenberry. Well, now, do you think anybody in their right mind was going to tell a stranger from out of town where a lone woman and a child were living by themselves? I don't hardly think so. Matter of fact, where I come from, they're kind of hesitant to do that to this day. Anyhow, finally, Mr. Lomax says he did all the things that he knew how to do so people would get to know him. So he went to the church on Sunday and Wednesday meeting night, and he went down to the local cafe, and he stayed in town at the little place they had to put up travelers, and he also went to the barber shop. Now, I know you gents know how much you can learn at a barber shop. It's kind of like what women learn at the hairdressers. Anyhow, he went to the barbershop, and finally they got to know him well enough that they said, well, come on, yeah, we'll make the introduction. So that's what he did. They went on out to Miss Dusenberry's house where she was living with that girl. Now, when he got there, Mr. Lomax wrote, she was sitting on her porch and she was rocking and singing, and that girl was sitting right down by her knee. Now, Mr. Lomax also said the whole time he was there, the only time he saw that child sit down, he called her fidgety. Anyhow, the only time he saw her sit down was when her mama was singing. And sure enough, as he collected her stories, he collected her songs and stories too. And she said, well, you know, I use my music because it helps that girl to be still. And also her life was hard. Now, I've seen a black and white photograph of she and that girl when Miss Dusenberry was much older. And even though you could tell there wasn't hardly 2 nickels to rub together on that place. But I tell you what, she had on a fresh white apron and that child had a fresh white pinafore on. There wasn't a hair out of place. And I tell you what, you could see it. That old board and batten house in the yard was just swept clean as clean can be. Because you know it's a whole lot easier to see a snake in a well-swept yard than it is if you got the weeds that grow up out there. Anyhow, he made her recordings and then captured her song. And he put them all in a book, so if you ever want to know about Emma Dusenberry, and she sang the songs like, in Scarlet Town where I was born, there was a fair maid dwelling, made many a youth cry well a day. Her name was Barbary Allen. Now, I don't know if you know that old song. It has like about 19 verses. We'd be here till sometime tomorrow if I started in on it. Anyhow, she sang the old songs like that. Now, when I first came to the Ozark Folk Center State Park, it was back in 1974. And there was a woman by the name of Aunt Ollie Gilbert. Now, she wasn't all of our aunts, of course. All of the Gilberts are related to a lot of folks over in Stone County. Anyhow, you know how you call people auntie or sister or granny out of respect? Well, that's the way we felt for Ollie Gilbert. Anyhow, Ollie Gilbert used to get herself up in one of those buildings at the Ozark Folk Center, had a little stage in front and some benches and things right down in the middle. And she would tell stories and sing songs, and she'd frill the banjo. You know, that kind where they make their thumb go down on top in the back of their hands, do the rich thing, then they come up, and then they have to remember all the words at the same time. I'm absolutely astounded. But anyway, Ollie would frail, and she would sing, but she did not sing while she played the banjo. She was raised to sing unaccompanied. But when she played the banjo, she would play like a fiddle tune or just something, you know, that was pleasant. And Ollie Gilbert, oh, what a gal she was. The Gilberts, see, they took in people out of their house. If you came through Stone County, especially in the old days, or if you lived there and you'd fall upon hard times for some reason, well then the Gilbert family take you in. And they might give you something to eat, of course, and if there was any work to do, you could do it. And if there was any money to be had, they might have been able to pay you for your work. But if not, just a place to stay and a meal before you traveled on was really good. And Ollie Gilbert always said, you know, I use my music to help people feel better. You know, sometimes if you have to ask for things that other people take for granted sometimes, you know, it kind of hurts you in here. And Ollie Gilbert always said maybe she could ease some of that hurt in there. So she'd tell a funny story or a joke or two. Now, I got to tell you some of her jokes. I wouldn't repeat them in polite company if I were you, but she seemed to like to. Anyhow, she would tell the joke or a funny story and sing a song. She used to sing, oh, Susie licked the ladle and Dinah rocked the cradle and it's goodbye, my Susie gal, farewell, my honey, sitting in the corner, well, I guess I'm a goner and it's goodbye, my Susie gal, I'm gone. Now that last part I added because Uncle Floyd Holland, he always went, gone. And sometimes she would sing green corn, give me two tobacco, monkey on a hillside shooting at a cracker, gun went zip and I went flip, and we all landed up in old Mississippi. Oh. That folk music, it is such serious stuff now, isn't it? I'm telling you what. Anyhow, that was Ollie Gilbert. And she kept all of her information on those little round papers. You know that kind of machine where you push the buttons and put in the number and then you pull the handle down and the paper squirted out the back? Well, she had 3 of those, plumb full. And one time, because she used to roll them out, here's how she did it. She would take that roll and she would get up in that big old open space where she was playing music, and she'd go until it stopped. And then she'd go along with her finger like she was pointing out something in the schoolhouse on the slate board. Oh, now, there's one there. I remember exactly how my grandmother used to sing that. And then she'd go right on to singing it. And then here she'd go. Why, now, did you hear the one about? And then she'd tell it. And on she'd go, and on she'd go, and on she would go. And I tell you what, one time I got to look at those rolls, because her cousin has them now, I'm proud to say, since she's passed on. And on those rolls were not whole stories or whole songs or whole jokes. They were one line of what she wanted to remember. And she had 3 of them, full up. My, that Ollie knew a lot of things. Where's my keeper of the time, that young man with the great orange t-shirt on? You, sir, you, keeper of the time, you. Thank you very much. Or as they say near Memphis, thank you very much. Anyhow, I want to tell you about one more woman. She and I actually became friends, and she gave me a song to remember, which is another story in itself. Anyway, Alameda Riddle lived over in Dusenberry, Arkansas. Well, the town's not there, of course, anymore because the rivers covered it up. But when she lived there in the 1950s, it was she and her husband and 4 children. And then the big old tornado came through Jasper's Ferry. And it took most of the Gilbert place, and sadly enough, it took her man and took one of her children. And there she was, left alone to raise 3 more at a time when you just didn't have one person in the household to raise up the family. And Alameda always said, now you could, the neighbors would come in and helped out as best they could, but sooner or later the responsibility fell on your own shoulders. But she used a way to get rid of that, she said. She always had a tune she would sing. If she was like plowing, and she'd gotten in the eggs and milked the cow, and of course the children would help her when they got old enough, but when she was young she had it all to do by herself. And she said sometimes she just didn't know if she could go on anymore. But then she'd remember this here song. How firm a foundation ye saints of the Lord have laid at your table a magnificent word. What more can he say than to you he has said, you who unto Jesus for refuge has fled. And then she said, as soon as she got done singing that one, it made her sing, thought of another one. As soon as she got done there, she thought of another one. Soon, before long, all the cares of the world were just plumb off of her shoulders. And she felt she could go on. So, that's the power of a song. I'm here to tell you what. Anyhow, Alameda Riddle and I became good friends at the Ozark Folk Center because I was singing old ballads and doing a lot of English, Irish, Scottish, things that had come into the Ozarks up where I live, with a few other cultures, but basically those. And so she heard me singing one night and gave me an unaccompanied ballad to remember, because she said she was tired of remembering it. So not too long back, I had a feeling I might someday get tired of remembering it myself. So I found a person younger than myself who was singing ballads and a lot of other kind of music, and I gave that song to her. So hopefully, when she gets tired of remembering it, she'll give it on to somebody else. Now, the very last thing I want to share with you is actually a story song. Excuse me for a second. My friend Charlie Sandage, who I was very fortunate in the band that I'm with, the Trio Harmony, that he asked us to do his project called Arkansas Stories. That very first one, Henry, Henri, and Jack, about the Martin family. It came from that collection of Arkansas story songs. And it's, as I said, all about the things that happened in Arkansas, the big things and the little things. But he decided that these stories about Emma Dusenberry and Ollie Gilbert and Alameda Riddle might make for a real good story song and carry their history and their lives along. So he went to what was called the Red Book, which is a Sacred Heart way of singing. And he opened that book and he got out a tune called What Wondrous Love Is This, Oh My Soul, Oh My Soul. You know that one. What wondrous love is this, oh my soul, oh my soul. Well, that one. And he took some words in the story song about Ollie Gilbert. Would you like to share that with the rest of the class?
I will in 5 minutes.
5 minutes. 5 minutes he's going to tell us. I'm teasing you all, you know I am.
I know, I've seen you before.
Oh, you've seen me before. Don't tell everything you know about seeing me before now, would you? Thank you. What happens at the festival stays at the festival. Anyhow, Charlie took the stories of Alameda and Emma and Ollie Gilbert and put them into a song called They Sang On. What one... Same tune, wrong words. From northern Georgia hills, Emma sang, to Arkansas and cotton fields, she sang on. Even when her sight was gone, kings and bandits still lived on. In the pictures of her songs, Ollie sang, where the pines were cut and sawn, Emma sang on. Now if you knocked upon her door, Ollie sang her mother's songs and hundreds more she sang on. Are you family? Are you friend? Are you stranger? Welcome in. Banjo tunes and tales begin. Ollie sang, you journeyed far and home again, while she sang on. Hear the hymns, hear fiddles too. Alameda sang, see those shapes her father drew. She sang on. See the deed the storm had done, took her man and last born son. One life gone, yet one begun. Alameda sang, till her time on earth had run. She sang on. So hear the thousand more, how they sang to the children that they bore. They sang on. Story songs and hymns of praise ease the burden of their days. Taught us all their gentlest ways. How they sang, age by age and phrase by phrase, they sang on. So age by age and phrase by phrase, I sing